Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful Rabbit Hole, Lore and Fairy, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon, which I have been working on for the past couple of hours. Hard at work on that. Okay, so what's happened over the past day? Well, of course, we had the Game Awards. There were a lot of really interesting aspects to this. Not only was the show itself kind of interesting for a lot of reasons, especially that ending, but I think more and more we're starting to see that YouTubers are losing their minds over certain situations. I immediately after the show, I took two naps. I was playing a little bit of Pokemon. I worked a little bit, but after the show, right? After I was after everything settled and I was just kind of casually going through Pat stares at videos, Susie Hunter videos, Angry Joe videos, I kind of found myself addicted to this what was going on, some of the things going on with some of the backlash, some of the weird things that people are getting livid at. And in the case of Susie Hunter and Pat stares at, it was the Bayonetta thing. People are not happy. The Pretendos, the Yuri Cucks, the people who are very dead set against Bayonetta 3, niche audience that they are, they weren't happy about Bayonetta 3 winning Best Action Game, and they weren't happy about a new game getting announced. These guys threw everything they had at trying to pretend Bayonetta 3 was a bad game, and it's not even a month old yet, and we already have a follow-up. Bayonetta Origins looks awesome, and I'm really excited for it. But the thing that really struck me, and the thing that I think really needs to be talked about, is holy fucking shit, is Angry Joe out of touch or what? That live stream he did was embarrassing. It was pathetic. He is low energy. He looks like he's about to drop dead. He's guzzling G Fuel. He's trying to stay awake. Sleepy Joe has been a meme for the longest time, but I think it's getting worse. Every time I see him now, he looks like he's barely staying awake. He sounds completely out of it. He sounds like a complete train wreck. He looks like a complete train wreck. And now seeing him watch these Game Awards, seeing him only get excited at Al Pacino getting on stage and making jokes about how he's not a gamer. That's Angry Joe, right? Angry Joe is not a gamer. He is a YouTuber who reviews movies. That's what Angry Joe has transitioned into. He doesn't know anything about what's coming out, how to rank any of it. And the thing is, he hasn't played the vast majority of these games. And that's very, very evident when we're talking about Nintendo in particular, because Nintendo has never had a relationship with Angry Joe. They've never given him money. They've never had any relationship at all. And over the past couple of years, it really feels like Joe is getting really, really aggressively anti-Nintendo, more than he ever was in the past. And this show, I think, really demonstrates that very well. I actually already posted a video on my channel talking about how salty he was that Mario Rabbids won Best Strategy Game. Now, I haven't played Mario Rabbids myself, the new one, but the first one was great. And the sequel, I think, a lot of fans were really impressed with what they did with it, story wise, and the improvements of the gameplay and stuff like that. I watched Angry Joe whine and cry about how there was no improvements to the game, how it didn't change at all, how it didn't evolve, how Total Warhammer 3 was way better. And the impression I got, and I'm sure most people who actually played Mario Rabbids would agree with me, is that Angry Joe is salty that a Mario game won in a category that it shouldn't have been nominated for. That's what a lot of these people they're still stuck in that mid 2010 mindset where Nintendo games just don't get nominated at all right? Every time Nintendo won anything this year, whether it was Bayonetta 3 for Best Action Game, whether it was Mario Rabbids for Best Strategy Game, essentially there were a number of major Nintendo announcements, and this guy just goes out there saying over and over again, oh, Nintendo paid for that. Nintendo paid for that. Nintendo paid for that. And they did that last year too with Dread. Metroid Dread won Best Action Game, and that again, Nintendo has won the Best Action Game award 2 years in a row, right? We're moving toward an industry where game journalism is moving towards accepting Nintendo as the powerhouse in the industry. for the first time in like 20 years. But like, dinosaurs like Joe, these fossil relics of a bygone YouTube age, like they don't want to admit it. Like it's weird seeing like what was it? Yeah, Nintendo, yeah, it's weird seeing Angry Joe like get salty at like Splatoon being mentioned. Like it's not even getting an award. It's not like they're just showing footage of it. It's like it's a commercial, right? And then like the commercial for Splatoon 3 breaks and goes to like Blood Bowl. I don't know what Blood Bowl is. It's like I think it's some Warhammer related thing. And he's like, "Oh man, finally something I'm interested in," or something like that. Who the fuck? Enough with the football games, okay? Like, who the fuck cares about football games? Why are you so ridiculously salty about Splatoon existing and being successful and popular? I've seen several YouTubers over the past couple of months, like really desperately trying to downplay the success of Splatoon 3. Like they really don't want to admit this franchise is hugely successful and popular, right? Like right now the cope is that like it's only popular in Japan, but the reason it hasn't taken off in the West yet is because of people like you. People who are like pretending this game isn't innovative or interesting. Like it's becoming a bit of a problem, with you guys like throwing everything you possibly can at the wall to pretend that like Splatoon isn't relevant or popular when it's gigantic, right? One of my favorite games of this year, right? Splatoon 3. Splatoon is huge, and yet this guy would rather get excited over like sports games, like it's pathetic. Like, and again, that extends to a lot of other games. Like Bayonetta Origins, right? That got a trailer. That was something I was very excited for. You know, I Bayonetta 3 just came out. All right, we got a big new mainline Bayonetta game. Like Joe has expressed interest in playing the Bayonetta franchise in the past. He's expressed interest in like Devil May Cry. He's reviewed 5 and the reboot. He's played games like this before. It's weird to me to see him like say that like, oh, I'm not interested in this. I don't know. Like Bayonetta 3, it's not gonna win Action Game of the Year, even though it did. Like it's weird seeing him like downplay this spin-off title, like pretending that it's not something that has an audience, right? Like pretending it's like, oh, they're just trying to make it like anime appeal to anime like people, when that's not really it at all. Like those of us who have actually played Platinum games, who like respect the company and the history and the legacy, like you can see a lot of influences there, right? Like Scalebound was originally supposed to star a female protagonist, right? That had an AI controlled companion, a dragon that you would like level up and like power up as you went through the game, right? Like Okami had like the similar storybook style. Like this isn't anything weird or unusual for Platinum Games, but you have like a bunch of people who did not play Bayonetta 3 or have not played Bayonetta at all trying to fabricate some kind of narrative or story that like, oh, this is something that the audience wouldn't want, when the opposite is true, right? Like I think the Bayonetta audience like is really interested in the idea of something like this. Like one of the more interesting things I thought when I played Bayonetta 3 was like finding this storybook and like unlocking it and figuring out what they do. Like I live for this stuff, like I love the fact that creators can be like make something wild and out there like that. I think it really shows the strength and flexibility of the Bayonetta IP, and that like this idea of like young Cereza becoming a witch to like save her mother or whatever, you know, like that fits in perfectly well with the Bayonetta franchise. And you see these people like Joe who are insisting that it doesn't fit in, that like nobody cares about Bayonetta, that it's not a big seller. Like these people are coping. They're coping and seething and have been for like the past, honestly, since before even Bayonetta 2 came out, right? This has been a decade long thing at this stage. And like these people will not admit they're wrong. They won't admit that the franchise has fans, that it's doing better and better, that it's getting a lot of momentum in spite of all of its opposition from like essentially everyone. It's it's weird to think of just how much like Bayonetta has been attacked over the years by all these different groups of people, like feminists, the LGBT community, conservatives, PlayStation fanboys. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. And I think I think we're reaching the point where gaming YouTubers are so out of touch that like nothing they really say will influence people's receptions of these games. You know, like does anyone go to Angry Joe for coverage of like Mario Rabbids or Bayonetta 3? No, because he's never covered those games. Like a significant portion of the YouTube audience, you know, shits on Nintendo and pretends they're irrelevant, but they've never played or talked about any Nintendo games. And as a result of that, it's becoming more and more obvious that they have no idea what they're actually talking about. They have no idea what they want to they have no idea how to downplay these games to their audience. All they can do is just screech over and over again at how it shouldn't have won that award, or how it's not good enough, or how Nintendo can't compete, or how the Switch is underpowered, or how like I'm not interested in ARMS, in Octopath Traveler, in Splatoon, in Zelda, in Mario, in Smash Bros. Like again, I've been saying this over and over again for the past like 5 years. What are you interested in? Like in the Wii U era, I was like willing to give these people the benefit of the doubt that like, oh yeah, maybe you just don't like 2D platformers or like Smash games or like, you know, Bayonetta 2, because like these aren't games that appeal to everyone, right? But I'm starting to realize more and more that like these guys don't play games at all. Like that's the reality we're in right now. Is that like the YouTubers are more interested in pushing social agendas, pushing conspiracies, pushing narratives than actually talking about or playing games. And like you can kind of see this with Angry Joe watching the Bayonetta trailer, where like he's just sitting there saying that like, oh, are they gonna pay the voice actress this time? She's gonna make $0. It's Bayonetta 0. She's gonna make $0. Like the same tired joke over and over and over and over again, because he doesn't have anything else to contribute. You can see this like throughout the entire video whenever he has to talk about Nintendo, right? Whenever you see that Switch logo on screen and whenever you see him like cope and seethe about all these crazy Nintendo games that he's never even touched, right? You know, again, it is ridiculous. The Mario movie. Again, this is probably the best example of this because, you know, this is a movie. This isn't like a game. You can just go to a theater to see this. It is remarkable how many YouTubers I've seen who will watch any given clip of the Mario trailer and complain about Mario's voice regardless of how he sounds or like what his lines actually are. Like this trailer is a really good example of that. The new one, the Game Award one, is a really good example of this because like Mario doesn't actually talk in that trailer much at all. It's much more focused on Toad and like the environment and like first getting to Toad Town or whatever. Like it's you know, it's just a clip from the movie. It's showing you how the world works and how it's set up and stuff like that. Like it's pleasing to look at. It's fun. It has great music. Like it's a good scene, right? There's nothing wrong with it. And Mario doesn't talk, but throughout the entire thing, you still have this like, oh no, Mario, Chris Pratt, he's not even trying. He's not even trying to put on a voice. When like he sounds perfectly fine, okay? Like I'm past the point saying that like I don't care about Chris Pratt's casting. I'm at the stage now where I'm just like, no, he is perfectly fine as Mario. It is people complaining, they really are looking for a reason to bitch. That is the situation we're in right now, is that people are looking for excuses to complain about Nintendo. Like they are straight up making things up at this stage. And I don't know how much longer they can keep doing this because these guys are old. They're busted. They're tired. They don't even play video games. And yet we're supposed to like take them seriously when they complain about like Bayonetta 3, you know, like Bayonetta and Luca being a thing where they're complaining about like there has not been a single e-celebrity I've seen make a single valid criticism of Nintendo in like real talk, like 10 years. Okay, probably longer than that. But like ever since I started paying attention to this, like it doesn't feel Nintendo does not feel like a dying company, if anything. Like I think all that's happened is that people are like starting to like get tired of like the constant bitching and whining from these people regarding Nintendo, right? Like I don't know, I don't like people seeing people like insist that Nintendo is paying for awards. Okay, I don't like people pretending as if there's something wrong with with the way Nintendo is handling their business or their ideas or something. I don't like people pretending that certain games bomb when they clearly don't. You know, Splatoon 3 I think is a recent example of this. Like why are these people so religiously anti-Nintendo? And like the reality is it is because they don't get paid, right, from Nintendo. Like all of their sponsorship deals, they're with other companies, other franchises, other brands. Angry Joe was more excited for Street Fighter 6 than Tekken 8. Why? Because he has a partnership with Capcom. He's produced like board games for them. He has like a nepotistic relationship with them. Not so with Tekken. I've never seen him like talk about Tekken positively at all. And like I think I said this in my stream when I was doing my reaction that like yeah, Tekken is the stronger fighting game IP. It's the only fighting game franchise I think that's remained relevant in like the new decade, right? It's the only one I am remotely looking forward to. I think Street Fighter 6 is shaping up to be a disaster, and Angry Joe just isn't talking about that. Like I look at those terrible designs and I just scratch. What does Angry Joe find appealing about them? And the reality is he finds it appealing because he's paid to do it. Like that is what a YouTuber is. They are an influencer. They are a shill. They are a propagandist. They are trying to convince you of a reality that simply does not exist, right? They're trying to train you to think that Nintendo isn't good, that it's outdated, that it's boring, and that you should play all of your games on PC instead. It's gotten old. Okay, like at this point, like I think this Game Awards show this is that like this kind of thinking is old. Like it's tired, it's played out. I don't see anyone being influenced by Angry Joe's opinions in the future. And as a result of that, I have to wonder, like, at what point is his channel going to tank? Because I do think like it's in decline. I do think like Marvel, Star Wars, like all of the brands he covers are like becoming less and less popular. Like I think eventually he's going to lose his audience. And I think we're on the verge of that happening. I think one more major Angry Joe related controversy in the future, I think his channel is done. Like I think it's going to go down the same route as like Nick Rekieta has done, in that like he does something that alienates his audience, and like we slowly build up to this point where the audience itself turns on him. You know, it happened to James Rolfe, it happened to like Doug Walker, it happened to like all these people. Like Joe has gone through these controversies poorly before, and I think like, you know, I think one more major controversy is going to like destroy the channel at this point. I don't think he can rebuild. I don't think he can do anything else. I think all he can do is just keep like doing what he's doing and just be a complete shill. And that's going to eventually, I think people are going to notice that this guy is like a complete train wreck. How much longer is that going to be? I don't know, but I do think it's going to be soon, within the next 5 years for sure. But until then, I'm Cody Lee, and I will see you all next time.